Well, sir, we're all dealing with this coronavirus issue. I guess the first question is from an AG's point of view, from in terms of scams, from in terms of people taking advantage of the costs of products. What are you seeing from your end, and what are you guys trying to fight back against?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you for letting me do this and air this. It's an important conversation we're having during this COVID epidemic or COVID pandemic. We are seeing quite a few scams out there. You touched on a handful already in talking about the artificial inflation of pricing, and I'll talk about that. It's less of a scam and more of a practice that we're addressing. But some scams we're seeing out there include phishing scams, social engineering scams, and bait and switch scams. And I'm happy to talk about those in further detail if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the bait and switch first of all. What kind of a scam is that, and what's been going on?
Yeah, so in the bait and switch scam, what we're seeing are that criminals are advertising in-demand medical supplies, for example, for sale to be used to protect against coronavirus. These are things such as medical masks, gloves, disinfectants, and other things like that. And these criminals will oftentimes demand upfront payment or initial deposits for these types of supplies, and then they never actually deliver the ordered products. And so we're encouraging every Nevadan to do their research before purchasing supplies and to actually only buy from legitimate and reputable stores and sources.
And in terms of price gouging, what's being gouged? How much of a difference are we talking about? What products, I guess, in particular?
Well, quite a few. Let me at the outset say that we have an 800 a toll-free number that our office has set up for receiving tips of artificial price inflating, and that includes and that number is 888-434-9989, or they can file a complaint online at ag.nv.gov. And I mentioned that at the outset because I have a lot of friends on social media, Facebook and Twitter or whatnot, and sometimes I get direct messages and they want to make the complaint directly to me, and sometimes we're able to help with that. But the best way to ensure that my office gets what it needs is through one of those ways that I just mentioned and making an official complaint. But what we're seeing out there are as I just indicated, artificial increasing of pricing. Other states have actual price gouging statutes, and some states like ours are using our general fraud statutes, our antitrust statutes, our statutes under the Bureau of Consumer Protection to ensure that people aren't being gouged, for lack of a better phrase, on these types of areas. But it's not just individuals like you and I who are going in and sometimes seeing problems for the pricing of toilet tissue being 10 times as much as it used to be. And I'm just using a number that not necessarily saying 10 times is the number, right? But also businesses are being gouged or are seeing artificial increases in the prices in the supply chain. I got a very credible report of that yesterday. And so, again, filing a complaint with our office on these types of things is very important so that we can start tracking this down.
I guess I'm just trying to drill down on do you have any more specifics on what is being gouged? Are there certain things that you guys are hearing about that are having the prices altered significantly? Food? Is it gas? What are we talking about here?
The answer is yes. It's food. It's gas. It's things that you need for everyday living. Frankly, it could be disinfectant types of things, hand sanitizers, baby wipes, diapers. Just things that people need in order to be able to take care of themselves. And sometimes even some of the things that you wouldn't consider important until you don't have it. Deodorant, for example. These are the types of things that we're seeing with artificial pricing. Now, let me be clear: supply and demand still works. Economics 101. Where the demand is high and the supply is low, we are going to see an increase in pricing, and I want folks to recognize that. But we're not talking about general laws of supply and demand. We're talking about people who are purposefully, in our estimation, taking advantage of the circumstances that the COVID pandemic are presenting to us and hypercharging folks for products. And again, we're using our Bureau of Consumer Protection, our hotline, and our online complaint form to be able to help folks when we can.
Considering the scale of this coronavirus pandemic here, how challenging is it from a law enforcement standpoint to keep up with price gouging, with scams like this, with people trying to take advantage of a horrible situation? How much of a wave are you guys dealing with in that regard?
Well, I think it goes without saying that in times like these, criminals come out the woodwork. And people looking to take advantage of circumstances like this. So our workload has obviously increased. A lot of the complaints that we've received have been over the phone. Some have been reduced to actual written complaints, and we're working on that. And while I won't purport to speak for other law enforcement on the ground, I can only imagine that they too are seeing these. And I know, for example, that Metro has been at stores, not necessarily on the price gouging front, but ensuring that there's good order going on. People are fighting in the stores, and there's a lot of stuff going on that's making our jobs that much more important, but also straining the resources that we have. But make no mistake about it, we're going to be working as hard as we can, around the clock. My office has been open. I've been in the office 18 hours a day just to ensure that we are getting the types of information and resources out, not only to our clients, but to our constituents.
So aside from the number and the website and the online ability to give a complaint in that you all have talked about, if you're a consumer out there and you're at the grocery store or you're at the gas station or wherever else you are, and you see something wrong or someone calls you and tries to offer you something you think it's wrong, how should a consumer know before they have to call the AG's office or before they have to call law enforcement, this ain't right?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer may not be satisfactory, but it's an answer that I think you can expect. Common sense. If you're suspicious of the fact that you're getting an email from someone that purports to be from a company and it has an attachment that you don't recognize, then don't open it. If you're thinking you're experiencing a fraud, then don't participate in it. You've heard the old adage that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. That applies here. One of the things that we've seen a lot of times is that people are trying to sell the quote unquote cure for coronavirus. What I can say is this: if there's a cure for coronavirus, you won't see it for the first time in the sales pitch. So common sense is one of the best ways to operate. But there's also an obligation that I would like for all of us to assume upon ourselves, and that's being compassionate toward our fellow citizenry. We're all going through this together. I've had to go to Smith's a handful of times, and I continue to run into the same worker. Her name is Kathy. And she's always smiling. She's always as helpful as she can be, but you can tell she's exasperated, not only from the work that she has to do, but also from the interactions she's having sometimes with folks who are just being unruly. And I understand people are oftentimes hyper concerned during these times, and rightfully so. But we have to continue to be civil toward one another and work with one another. And if you would allow me, I'd like to commend a handful of entities that are doing exactly that relative to being able to help folks in the community. We have 3 Square, for example, which a lot of people know about as a food bank, and they've collaborated with many different agencies and volunteers who are assisting with distribution of food at 43 emergency distribution sites, including in CCSD. We have the Station Casino properties doing some great work at Palace Station, Sunset Station, and Boulder Station, where they are working with 3 Square in this area. The LDS Church, several of their sites are involved in this as well as 9 other local agency partners. We have certain grocery stores. I mentioned Smith's as an example because Kathy has been so great, but they also are holding, I've heard Smith's, I've heard Albertsons, I've heard, I think it's Dollar General, I've heard Whole Foods. They're having special hours for seniors to go in, Walmart to go in and shop before they open. These are the types of things that we need to be happening in our community right now. And without even a mandate, people are volunteering and stepping up to the plate to do that. And we should commend them for that. And the final thing I'll offer is that, as I understand it, DoorDash, Postmates, Uber Eats, and other entities like that are still working and offering meals and ordering and other delivery services to the community members. And so I want to commend them out loud for that and to suggest that we all consider them when it's time for us to take care of ourselves.
I'm out of questions, sir. I think that'll just about do it. If there's anything else I'm missing here.
I think not. I think we're okay.
Good deal, sir. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And stay well. Appreciate it.